The 9mm you bought based on reviews is already on a gun store trade-in shelf somewhere, and the person who sold it thought exactly what you think right now. It happens constantly. Someone spends $600 on a pistol that had great reviews, solid YouTube coverage, and a following online. They feel good about it for the first few months. Then somewhere around year 2, something shifts. The trigger feels different. The finish wears in places it should not. They start blaming their grip, their ammo, their technique. It was never any of those things. It was the pistol. Today we are going through 6 9mm pistols that almost never end up in that trade-in pile. Not the most talked about, not the most marketed, the ones that long-term owners quietly hold onto for a decade and never feel the need to replace. We are counting down from 6 to 1. If you want this kind of content with no brand deals and no agenda, subscribe right now. Let us get into it. Number 6. Walther PDP. Independent testing labs that put striker-fired pistols through back-to-back trigger evaluations keep landing on the same unexpected result. A pistol most buyers have never seriously considered as consistently outperforming options that cost significantly more and carry far bigger names. That pistol is the Walther PDP. And the reason most people do not own one is the same reason most people end up trading their pistol in 3 years later. They bought the name instead of the gun. Here is what they are walking past. The PDP was engineered from a clean slate with a single instruction. Produce a striker-fired pistol that makes zero apologies to the shooter. The trigger they delivered on that mandate is one of the finest stock triggers in this class at any price point. Short, clean. A reset that communicates real information instead of mechanical noise. No trigger job needed. No aftermarket parts required. It arrives ready to work. The grip texture is calibrated right, holds under pressure, does not punish over a long session. The optics cuts accept common footprints without adapter plates. Ergonomics fit a wide range of hand sizes without forcing backstrap experiments before the pistol feels natural. Shooters who put 15 and 20,000 rounds through a PDP and come back to talk about it do not come back with problems. That silence is the most credible review this pistol can get. Specs: caliber 9mm, capacity 15+1 or 18+1, barrel length 4 inches, weight 25.4 ounces, price range $599 to $699. The verdict: the PDP earns loyalty the quiet way and never loses it. The shooters who discover it stop looking for anything else. That is the whole argument. Number 5. SIG SAUER P320X Series. The drop safety issue was real, documented, serious, and it made loud noise in the community. Nobody is disputing that part of the story. The part most people stopped paying attention to is what SIG did next. They redesigned the fire control unit completely. They ran a voluntary upgrade program. Then the updated platform went through the United States military's selection process and came out the other side as the M17 and M18, the official sidearm of the American military, fielded across hundreds of thousands of soldiers in every environment and condition the military operates in. That is not recovered marketing. That is documented operational performance at a scale that exposes every flaw a design carries. The X series is a separate conversation from the base P320. Flat-faced trigger tuned properly from the factory. Grip texture that holds when your hands are sweating. Optics cuts that accept modern footprints without compromise. Dimensional tolerances most manufacturers charge significantly more to produce. And the modularity is not a sales talking point. The serialized fire control unit genuinely moves between frames, sizes, and caliber configurations as your life changes. You are investing in a platform, not just a pistol. Specs: caliber 9mm, capacity 17+1 or 21+1, barrel length 3.6 to 5 inches, weight 25.1 to 30.4 ounces, price range $699 to $899. The verdict: rebuilt after real criticism, revalidated by military deployment at scale, and designed to adapt to every version of your life over years of ownership. The post-redesign record needs no defense. Number 4. Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. Law enforcement agencies across this entire country have run the M&P platform through neglect, extreme weather, and round counts that would end most recreational shooting careers. They keep reordering it. That one fact does more for this pistol than any review ever written about it. The original M&P had one genuine weakness, and Smith & Wesson did not pretend otherwise. The trigger reset was vague and the feedback was soft. The 2.0 was built specifically to fix that. The wall is defined now. The break is consistent. The grip texture was redesigned to hold properly under pressure without punishing the hand over extended sessions. Every change was functional. None of it was cosmetic. The aftermarket support around this platform is among the deepest in the industry. Parts availability, holster options, upgrade paths. The infrastructure exists at a volume that reflects a decade of serious ownership. When something eventually needs attention years from now, you are not waiting on a back-ordered component or tracking down a specialist. That depth matters more at year 7 than it does at month 2. Specs. Caliber, 9mm. Capacity, 17+1. Barrel length, 4.25 inches. Weight, 24.7 ounces. Price range, $499 to $599. The verdict: a decade of professional use across the country, a trigger that fixed the only real complaint the original carried, and aftermarket support that never runs dry. Long-term ownership does not look better than this. Number 3, HECKLER and KOCH VP9. Pick up a VP9 cold, no prior context, no expectations. Run 50 rounds through it, then go pick up whatever striker-fired pistol you were carrying before. Something changes in that moment that is hard to describe and impossible to unfeel. The trigger is where it starts. HK landed in the striker-fired market in 2014 with a reset that was shorter and more physical than anything in its class. A break with an actual defined wall before it, not the soft, ambiguous transition most designs call a wall. Feedback through the trigger face that tells you what the pistol is doing on every shot. That is not marketing language. That is what the trigger actually does, and shooters who experience it consistently describe the same thing. They cannot go back. The paddle magazine release needs time, and people who dismiss it without giving it that time are forming opinions on incomplete information. What the paddle delivers after the adjustment period is ambidextrous speed, by geometry rather than by adding a mirrored button to the opposite side. The grip customization system produces real ergonomic differences across configurations, not minor feel variations. The hand position it produces relative to the bore axis is naturally higher than most competitors can achieve without modifications. HK operates to a standard, not a budget. Every detail of the VP9 reflects what that standard actually costs to maintain. Specs: caliber 9mm, capacity 17+1, barrel length 4.09 inches, weight 26.56 ounces, price range $699 to $799. The verdict: when a manufacturer refuses to trade quality for margin at any point in the process, the shooter feels it in every pull. That is the VP9. Engineering without complaint produces a pistol without them. Number 2, CZ75SP01. Here is how you know a firearm design got something fundamentally right. Competing manufacturers with their own engineers and their own resources and every reason to build something original, look at it and decide that copying it is the fastest path to building something excellent. The CZ75 has received that decision from more manufacturers across more countries than any other handgun produced in the last 50 years. That is not a compliment from a magazine. That is the industry voting with its own money. The SP01 is the full-size, all-steel version of that design. And the first thing people say when they pick it up is that it is heavy. That weight is exactly why this pistol does what it does. You shoot it and the muzzle barely moves. You get back on target faster. Your splits tighten without you doing anything differently. That is not a coincidence. That is 40 ounces of steel doing work that polymer simply cannot do. The more rounds you put through it, the smoother the action gets. That alone sets it apart from almost every other pistol on this list. The DA/SA trigger has a learning curve, and the honest version of this conversation acknowledges that without apology. The first pull is longer and heavier by design. Every subsequent pull is short and light and genuinely exceptional when the shooter has done the work to build around the system properly. This pistol has a documented service life that outlasts the shooters who buy it. Not figuratively, mechanically. Maintain it correctly and it performs at 30 years the same way it performs today. Specs: caliber 9mm, capacity 18+1, barrel length 4.6 inches, weight 40.7 ounces. Price range $699 to $799. The verdict: the most copied handgun design in the industry because the original solved problems that everyone else is still working on. Nobody who buys an SP01 seriously ever needs another pistol. That is the entire case. Number 1. Glock 17 Gen 5. There's a pattern that repeats itself across every generation of serious shooters. They look at the Glock 17, decide it is too common and too predictable to be the real answer, and go looking for something more interesting. They find platforms with better triggers, better aesthetics, more compelling stories. Some of those platforms are legitimately excellent. And then quietly, without announcement, the conversation always returns to the Glock 17. Not because of nostalgia, because of what the accumulated evidence says when you stop arguing with it. The Gen 5 closed the door on every legitimate criticism the platform had left. Finger grooves gone, marksman barrel with improved accuracy data, ambidextrous slide stops, a trigger with a smoother face and a more consistent reset, NDLC finish that holds up to hard use, and inconsistent maintenance in a way previous finishes never did. What came out of those changes is not a pistol with minor criticisms. It is a pistol where the criticisms have been removed. That is a different category. The aftermarket around the Glock 17 is the largest that exists for any handgun on the planet. Every component, every upgrade path, every optic mount, every holster, the infrastructure, is complete and immediately available everywhere. Law enforcement on 6 continents, military units across dozens of countries, individual round counts documented at 50,000, 100,000, and well beyond on nothing more than routine maintenance. No handgun has more real-world performance data behind it. The Glock 17 Gen 5 is number 1 because the evidence has been accumulating for 50 years and it keeps pointing in the same direction. Specs: caliber 9mm, capacity 17+1, barrel length 4.49 inches, weight 24.87 ounces. Price range $549 to $649. The verdict: 50 years of evidence, every generation of challengers, 0 successful replacements. You now know something most 9mm buyers never figure out until it is too late. The question is whether you are going to use it or scroll to the next video and forget it. 6 pistols: the Walther PDP, the SIG P32OX series, the M&P 2.0, the HKV P9, the CZ75 SP01, and the Glock 17 Gen 5. Every single one of them earned that spot the same way. Not through a review deal, not through marketing spend, through years of documented real use by people who had no room for a pistol that let them down. Drop the one from this list that is already in your safe in the comments. And if none of them are there yet, tell me which one you are going after first and what is holding you back. If this gave you something real, hit like and subscribe. No sponsors, no agenda, just honest. See you in the next one.